The DB11 is the direct replacement for the excellent, but now far from cutting edge, DB9. It's an absolutely crucial car for Aston Martin for a whole host of reasons, not least because it heralds a new era for the company, having been created under a new boss by a new engineering team with a whole new set of goals to aim at. And for a couple of rather magical hours last week, Aston Martin allowed us behind the wheel of this prototype DB11, complete with its all-new turbocharged V12 engine. This is what happened next.
This is definitely the coolest day in the office so far in 2016, because this is the new Aston Martin DB11 and it doesn't go on sale for about 5 months, and it's actually not even been fully signed off yet, but for some brilliant reason, quite frankly, Aston Martin have allowed us to have a proper go in this prototype of the DB11, and well, it's just an amazing privilege, really. So what are we talking about with the DB11? It is obviously the new DB9. It has a stonking great V12 engine under there, obviously, and it's rear-wheel drive, as you'd expect. The big difference, though, is that it's got turbochargers attached to it, to the 5.2 litre V12. Now, that's on paper, you think, oh dear, have they ruined the V12 Aston Martin by bolting a couple of turbochargers onto it? But I've done a few laps in this thing now, and you've got to believe me, I think if you drove it blindfolded, if you weren't told that it's turbocharged, I'm not sure you'd guess. It's that instant, that pokey, and just that well engineered. I mean, it doesn't sound too shabby either. Sounds the business, to be honest. The chassis is pretty much there, they say. There's just a few things. There's a little bit of understeer in it that they'd like to get out, but fundamentally this chassis is the one that will go into customers' hands in sort of September, October, and it's a peach, it really is. The car weighs 1,800 kilograms pretty much, with a full set of fluids and a driver on board, which is, you know, that's quite a lot of mass to control, but it's just got this lovely sort of languid fluidity to it. It's a proper GT car, this. It's not a full house sports car, and they've set the suspension up to be exactly that. It's nice and kind of round edged, lovely steering. Just been talking to Matt Becker, the Aston's chief chassis guy who they pinched from Lotus, and he's particularly proud of the way this thing steers, and I totally agree with him. It's absolutely lovely steering on this car. Gearbox is the ubiquitous 8-speed ZF. It's been tuned for them bespoke in a couple of areas, but fundamentally it's the same gearbox that you get in, well, Range Rovers and BMWs and, you know, all that lot. And it's a very good gearbox. Very good indeed. It's not a dual clutch, but kind of doesn't need it because the gearbox itself works really nicely. Steel brakes rather than carbon ceramic brakes, and I've done quite a few laps of this place now, and I'm not thinking that it needs carbon ceramic brakes, so nah, it stops really nicely. There are 3 different drive modes. You've got GT, you've got Sport, and you've got Sport Plus. They're playing around still with Sport Plus because they think it might be a little bit too aggressive, and that nobody will ever bother using it because it goes a bit too stiff. But I mean, in Sport, it's lovely, and it just allows a little bit of slip as well if you give it a bootful. That's lovely, isn't it? I mean, I've still got a little bit of traction control on there, but not loads. So what I'm now going to do, you've also got 3 modes with the traction control. You've got track, on and off. So now I've turned it off completely. I tell you what, it feels like a proper, big, serious, lovely sounding Aston Martin, the DB11. There isn't a millimetre of compromise in this car. In fact, I'd go so far as to say it's the best car that Aston looks likely to make. Yeah, that's full beans in third gear. Not a whisper from the back end there. It's got great traction considering it's got 600 horsepower, 700 newton meters of torque. Okay, let's give it some absolute beans out of here. And oh man, yes please. This thing's really going to take it to Ferrari. But before we do that, or before it does that, I'm going to take it to the wet handling circuit and have a bit of a giggle. And I suspect it will be a proper giggle on the wet handling circuit.
So although it might not be quite signed off just yet dynamically, the potential for greatness in the new DB11 is, on a dry handling circuit at least, blindingly obvious. So what's it like to drive in the wet then?
This is Bridgestone's track, just outside Rome by the way, and a proper playground it is too. There's just all sorts, they're really proud of it and it is a heck of a facility. Obviously I've got everything turned off, because you do. Ooh. Bridgestone have developed the tyre for the DB11 and so you're going to expect some pretty decent results. But what they're most proud of, Aston and Bridgestone, is the way the tyre behaves just at the point of when you start to understeer, particularly in the wet like this. You can, because it's an electric power steering system, which traditionally there's not much feel through an EPAS system with the steering, but you can just feel this lovely kind of drop off in grip at the front and at the back as well if you light the tyres up. The characteristic of the way the grip drops away is really friendly, so that even though there is wheel spin galore to be had, you can kind of control it really nicely. It's like just there. The car is just beginning to go into understeer, but not in a way that just completely washes out and you lose the front end. It just, you can feel the grip dropping away, and they're really proud of that, and they should be, because it just. I mean, obviously, if you muck about with the throttle like that, it will go sideways for Britain, which is which, let's face it, is pretty good fun. But oh dear, no matter how sensible you try and be on wet handling circuits, you always reach the point where you just think, well, okay, let's behave like a complete hooligan. But I guess the thing to learn here is just, you can't muck about with a car that's this heavy and this powerful and this torquey unless the chassis is beautifully sorted. But you can, and that appears to be the DB11 all over. It's just a very, very nicely sorted, big but not clumsy, classic GT car. Oh, I cannot wait to have a go in one of these back on roads that we know well in the UK, because I think it is going to be absolutely fantastic. I really do. For the time being though, I think we need to put this one away, back in the box, before I go and spank it into some tyres. But be under no illusion, the DB11 is absolutely bursting with potential. I'm not going to stick my neck out and say it's the best thing since sliced bread, but God, it feels flaming wonderful this far.
Click on the video windows to watch a first drive of the DB11's rival from Bentley, the Continental GT Speed, or watch a review of James Bond's ultra-rare DB10. Click on the play icon to watch our very latest video posting, or on our logo to subscribe to our channel.